Hello there, Bernie Miklasz back with you here on the Bernie Show, presented by our friends at DraftKings, where the crown is yours. I'm sorry for my delay today. Gosh, one of those days where there are all kinds of technology problems. So I hope the sound quality is okay. I was working on it, but I think my external mic is dead. Long live the external mic. So if this one sounds a little hollow, that's the reason. Uh, Technology is our friend and it is also our enemy, right? Anyway, thanks to DraftKings for sponsoring the show. And also thanks to all of you for watching it and for leaving your comments. Appreciate it very much. The topic very much on my mind today is the St. Louis Cardinals bullpen. The earned run averages are going up. The swing and miss and strikeouts are down, and the strain is showing. Having to play 4 extra innings games in the first 2 weeks of the season certainly didn't help, and maybe that's why the Cardinals lost all 4 of those extra innings games. Having a rain out and a doubleheader in the middle of all of that certainly complicated matters. Listen, before you get mad at me and say, well, quit making excuses. Okay, I got you. I agree with you, actually. All teams have to endure a hard schedule. In fact, multiple times during a season, they'll have to go through a relatively unmerciful patch of schedule. And there's always going to be challenges. Some of those challenges will be extremely difficult, and you just got to find a way to get it done. I'm not making excuses for the Cardinals. They're going to have to find a way to fix the things that they got to fix. I'm just simply acknowledging the multiple factors that are working against them, at least right now. And it's up to the Cardinals to find solutions and handle their business instead of succumbing to fatigue and the demoralizing aspect of losing. No one's going to feel sorry for them. So the worst thing that they can do is feel sorry for themselves. I think the stress of all of this losing and all of the long games and the delays and the disruptions in the final game of the road trip, we saw that. I think it started to show up in the final game of the road trip. The Cardinals lost, of course, as we remember, because we talked about it yesterday. 2-1. They lost 2-1 to Pittsburgh in 13 innings. The pitching held up well till the end, till the very end, which surprised me. But the pitchers didn't lose that game, despite how many simple minds want to make it about the pitching, rather than the fact they scored one stinking run in 13 innings. Anyway, the St. Louis hitters looked exhausted. There wasn't a lot of visible energy. It seemed like they were rushing their at-bats a little bit. I'm thinking mental weariness or whatever, just wanting to go home. I'm sure that was a factor in that, and also all of their bonehead base running mishaps in Wednesday's loss. Regroup, boys. You had a Thursday day off. Regroup, rest up, because the Phillies are coming to town for the weekend, and they ain't going to feel sorry for you, so your situation ain't about to get any easier with Aaron Nola pitching Friday and then Zach Wheeler in the final game of the series on Sunday. That's all right. Miles Michaelis will stop the bleeding Saturday night, right? Anyway, the Cardinals have been taking a beating since sweeping the Twins in the first series of the season. Since then, the Redbirds have dropped 3 straight series, losing 7 of their last 9 games while losing 3 series in a row. Going 1-5 on the road, the Cardinals nearly returned empty-handed after that hideous 6-game trip to Boston and Pittsburgh. And more than any component of this team, the bullpen showed the most obvious signs of distress. In the 6 games, St. Louis relievers worked 27 1/3 innings, averaging around 4.5 innings per game. The results were, more on that in a minute. The results were abysmal, with the bullpen getting battered by the Red Sox and Pirates hitters for a 6.91 ERA, a 313 batting average, a 415 on-base percentage, a lot of walks, and a 464 slugging percentage. This bullpen crew really absorbed a lot of bruises, and, one day off's not going to heal all of those contusions. The 3 extra innings tests during the trips certainly put a heavier than normal load on the St. Louis bullpen, which had to cover 6 extra innings. If you add up all of the extra innings that they played, all 3 of them, add up all the innings in those games as far as what the bullpen had to cover, There's about 6 extra innings because of the extra innings nature of those games. But at the end of this road tour, the Cardinals had the kind of pitching breakdown, pitching split you don't want to see. I mentioned that in the 6 games, the Cardinals relievers worked 27 and a third innings. Well, the Cardinal starters also worked 27 and a third innings. And you don't want to see a 50-50 inning split, a share, 50-50 share of innings by your starters and your relievers. Usually that's going to be a formula for failure, and it certainly was on this road trip. And again, I know that part of that was because of the extra innings. But let's not go too far with that, because the starting pitchers let this team down on this trip. They got smacked around for a 7.24 ERA, 7.24. They average about 4.4, 4.5 innings per start. And the innings shortfall from the rotation caused problems. And the unsettling thing is, I think we're going to see more than that unless something dramatically changes, unless some of these pitchers can get a little deeper into games. Before I offer more thoughts, and I got a lot of good stuff about the shakiness of the Cardinals bullpen and some of the other factors that go into this, I did want to take a minute and thank you to tell you about DraftKings. Hey, listen, I think we all fancy ourselves as being pretty knowledgeable about sports, and that's cool. If you think you know Major League Baseball or the NHL or the NBA or the PGA Tour or NASCAR or UFC or soccer, well, it's time to have some fun. More than that, it's time to win. Let's go. All you need to do is focus on the player stats. Then you decide which players you're going to go with to help you pull in big cash prizes with DraftKings Pick 6. DraftKings Pick 6. When it comes to huge payouts, DraftKings is a home run, it's a slam dunk, and it's a hat trick in comparison to the competition. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. Make your picks and then have fun tracking your picks for your shot to win big cash prizes. Those big cash prizes are the reward at the end, but it's fun to just see how your players are doing. I enjoy that. It's as simple as that. And yeah, I'm going to repeat, it's a lot of fun. I signed up and I was very much impressed about how easy it is to get started. Just download the DraftKings app, you open an account, then you choose a sport, you pick your players, and you go for it. Turn your knowledge of baseball, the NHL, NBA, golf, or any other sport into some cash, and you can get going today. New players at DraftKings get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly with just a $5 entry. And so what you got to do is download that DraftKings Pick 6 now, download that app now, and use the code STL Sports. That's the code STL Sports for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right. Thank you. Let's return to the St. Louis bullpen. It is under duress. There is no question about it. Through the first 12, for the whole season, the first 12 games of the season, the Cards relievers have a 4.94 ERA that ranks 24th among the 30 teams. They've converted only 3 of 6 save opportunities. That's 50% rate. That's poor. The relievers in St. Louis, by working for St. Louis, also have the highest rate of allowing inherited runners to score. 56%. When a reliever comes in and there's men on base, what percentage of them score? Just gave you the answer. 56% of the inherited runners with this bullpen have scored. The worst rate, the highest rate, the worst rate in the majors. These are bleak numbers, or at least bleak early season developments, and it is early. But I think we got to look at some underlying factors. It's not just the pitchers, the starters don't give them enough innings. That's certainly a big deal, but there's other factors. The St. Louis bullpen continues to be way behind the times. That's because the St. Louis organization under John Mozeliak has been way behind the times. The Cardinals aren't alone in this, but the Cardinals bullpen isn't dynamic. With a lot of guys who can just strike you out, swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss. This bullpen's average of 7.94 strikeouts per 9 innings, just under 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, less than 1 per inning. That ranks 12th in the National League. And it's just remarkable to me how poorly equipped the Cardinals are in this challenge of overpowering hitters to reduce the large volume of pitches that are being put into play. Relying on great defense all the time, and you're also relying on fortunate batted ball luck, is not the easiest way to get the job done, because you're wishing and hoping a lot rather than watching your relievers go up there and just punch guys out. The Cardinals weren't an overpowering pen last season relative to other teams, but they had several guys last year with effective swing and miss stuff that could put hitters away. Ryan Helsley, Andrew Kittredge, Ryan Fernandez, Jojo Romero in the first half, Matthew Liberatore in the second half, and in limited duty, rookie Michael McGreevy showed an ability to make hitters miss. But so far this season, and again, it's early, the St. Louis relievers are not missing enough at bats, and that leaves them vulnerable. They rank 23rd overall and 10th in the National League in swing and miss rate. Now, before the season, if you watch my videos on my own channel, or if you have had a chance to read me since I went over to Sports Hub St. Louis, I'm mangling my words today. My bad. If you've been reading my work either before at scoopswithdannymac.com or now with Sports Hub STL, you'll know that I repeatedly warned everyone about this. Not everyone, but at least those of you who have been kind enough to regularly check out my work. I said the 2025 bullpen would have a difficult time coming anywhere close to matching the superb performance that we saw from the 2024 bullpen crew. And that was a historically great performance by them. And I've seen nothing so far to dissuade me that this 2025 bullpen is going to be able to do those type of things. It's kind of a stretch for me to think of it in those terms. It's a stretch right now. And once again, I do want to point out how the starters are a negative factor in this bullpen carnage. During the team's 2-7 slump, the Cardinals starting pitchers have covered less than 5 innings per game, and the bullpen is really pretty much providing just about as many innings on average per game over the last 9 as the starters have averaged. Starters have averaged about 4.7 innings per game. The relievers have averaged about 4.4. That's over the last 9. That's during this 2-7 slump that they're in. And other issues are working against the Cardinals. There's an obvious shortage of quality bullpen depth. When the Cardinals sent reliever Chris Roycroft down to AAA Memphis on Thursday, they opted to promote right-handed power arm Roddery Munoz. Now, he can throw hard. He absolutely is one of these velocity stars, right? It doesn't mean you know how to pitch. You can have all the velocity in the world. If you don't know where the ball's going to go, then it kind of, let's just say, reduces your effectiveness. So small samples and all that good stuff, but in his 5 innings at Memphis this season, so far, Munoz, the good news on him is he struck out 29% of the hitters that he faced. All right, power arm, strikeout guy, punch outs, great. Well, not so fast, because the not so good news is this. Munoz also walked 20% of the hitters that he faced. And he throws awfully hard, but does he know where the ball's going to go? A lot of those high velocity fastballs tend to sail out all over the place, away from the strike zone. Remember, this is one for the people that remember some stuff maybe in the early days of the Tony La Russa. It might have even been before that. The Cardinals picked up a guy from Kansas City. It was a right-handed guy, big guy, threw hard and hard and hard. His last name is Cleto, Cleto. I think it's Miguel Cleto or Miguel Cleto. He could throw about as hard as anybody in the game, but he had no clue where the ball was going to go. So I'm not saying that Rodri Munoz, who's a converted starter, I'm not saying that he's going to be that guy, but I've seen this movie before. That's all I'm trying to say. So we'll see what he does. We wish him well because he does have the power arm and they could use that. Now, the Cardinals also presumably had some other options available for them to them at Memphis, but they passed on Riley O'Brien. Not a good sign for me. Andre Granillo, not a good sign for me there, and a few others. Listen, McCreevy could come up right now and help the St. Louis bullpen get back on track. He's down there in Memphis working as a starter. And that's where John Mozeliak wants him, down in Memphis working as a starter, because they want to have a guy ready if they have an injury or whatever the case may be. I mean, I understand it, but I also understand that you, the team, you're claiming this isn't a throwaway season. You're trying to win. You think you're going to win. You think you can be a surprise team. Well, it's nice to have McCreevy in reserve as a starter in Memphis, but your bullpen is hemorrhaging right now and could use some suturing, right? So what is the priority? It's like, here we go again. What exactly is the goal for the Cardinals in 2025? Let me know if you figure it out, because I have no clue. And as I've said a million times, it seems to change every other day. The Cardinals have a promising power arm in the right-hander Tekoa Roby. They got it from Texas in the Jordan Montgomery deal. But Mozeliak wants Roby working as a starter at AA Springfield. Okay. But he's a guy that could, I think real soon could really help you in the bullpen. And he offered us a little bit of evidence of that in his first start at AA Springfield. Roby struck out, first time out, he struck out 36% of the batters that he faced over 5 innings. First of all, if the dude's going 5 innings, that would make him the marathon man up here in St. Louis, right? And a 36% strikeout rate, that's pretty good. I don't care what league you're in. Roby's got a live arm, but Mozeliak is doing the Mo thing. He signed only one major league reliever during the offseason, and even then he waited until almost the end of spring training for that price to drop a little more lower before he would reel in Phil Maton. And Phil has been a terrific addition. But meanwhile, the big league bullpen still needs reinforcements. But Mozeliak wants to shelter all those power pitcher arms in place. He wants to develop them as potential starters. He wants to be careful with them. He wants this. He wants that. Maybe that will pay off eventually. I don't rule that out. But the transition is definitely not underway, not to this point, because Mo wants, I'm going to repeat the line, he wants to keep those hard-throwing, strikeout-ready prospects. He wants to shelter them in place, right? So that leaves the big league bullpen vulnerable, and Mo has no problem leaving it that way. That's his choice. Now, we can debate the merits of the choice. Some of you will say, well, I agree with actually letting Roby and McCreevy develop as starters. Okay. You're not like, nobody's like crazy for thinking that. I mean, that's a legitimate point of view. But I'm just saying they need bullpen help. And it's their fault that they don't have enough of it. So what do you do when you really have something of an emergency? You lean on your minor league system. You have guys down there ready to go, ready to call up, ready to plug into that bullpen, but they're not doing it. I mean, they didn't have good choices this time around. What's going to happen when somebody gets hurt? A couple guys get hurt, and they're going to need to reach down even more into the minor leagues for bullpen help at the major leagues. You're going to still leave those power pitchers down there. You're going to keep them sheltered in place. I don't know. And the other thing, and I'm winding down here, how can the Cardinals follow through on their plan to go with a 6-man rotation when they're challenged to get sufficient innings from the starters, the 5 of them, that they already have, except for one guy, and we'll get into that here in a second. Right now we will. The only starter so far early in the year to average more than 6 innings per outing is Matthew Liberatore. Dude's average 6.2 innings per start. In this day and age, especially if you're a Cardinals pitcher, that's good, right? It's all relative, but that's good. Sonny Gray's averaging just a little bit more than 5 innings per start. Eric Fetty is averaging exactly 5 innings per start. Andre Palante is averaging under 5 innings per start. Miles Michaelis, frequently and comically touted as the innings eater by local media. Well, the innings eater, the man who devours innings, he's averaging only 4 innings per start. And his last 12 starts, that's this season. And you go back to his last 12 starts, going back to late last year, I told you this in a recent video, Michaelis is averaging less than 5 innings per start. So how in the hell does that give him the title of innings eater? I mean, plus he's got a 6.99 ERA in his last 12 starts. Anyway, then you got the designated 6th starter who's currently in the bullpen, Steven Matz. When they convert, if they do, to a 6-man rotation, it won't be the traditional 6-man rotation. But whatever they decide to do, you know how the Cardinals decide one thing and then at 10 minutes later they change your mind and do something else. Who knows? But that designated 6th starter, Steven Matz, not a cheap shot here, but, just the reality. He ain't Mr. Durability, right? No, I don't think he is. So if this trend continues, short innings from starting pitchers, a battered relief crew that needs some help, how's the bullpen going to hang in there? How's the bullpen going to survive? How's the bullpen going to be able to get to a place where they have a fair fight, where they're reasonably fresh and they're reasonably healthy and they're not getting a big, huge load of innings dumped on them, like in a way that's just extreme, right? How are they going to survive? I don't have an answer. You know what the scary thing is? Cardinals don't have an answer either, and that's a real problem. Listen, thank you for watching the Bernie Show presented by DraftKings. I will try to get a video up earlier tomorrow. I will try to resolve the technological issues. I don't like doing these videos this late in the afternoon because I get a little punchy by then, and I start talking like this, right? You see my flaws. I'm not exactly Mr. Polished, right? What you see is what you get, my friends. Anyway, you take care. And thanks again for watching. And thanks again to our friends at DraftKings.